Hello, hello. Welcome back to the podcast. It's your girl, Kamie Crawford. And today we have someone who, is a TikTok royalty, essentially. That's what we're dealing with today, guys. We have Jen Hamilton. She is a registered labor and delivery nurse known for dismantling misinformation regarding pregnancy and childbirth all over the web. Jen, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Cami. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so excited to meet you. I have watched countless videos of yours, and I am not pregnant. Do not plan on becoming pregnant in the very near future, but I can't miss a video. I have to watch every single thing that you post because it all is so educational, it's insightful, and it's real and honest in a way that I feel like we haven't been taught to think about motherhood and childbirth.
Well, I
So
so
thank
appreciate
you.
that. Yeah. Thank you so much. You're so sweet.
Thank you for that because I just feel like I think, and I mean, you're a mom, so I feel like you know this better than I do, but I feel like when it comes to motherhood, everything surrounding motherhood has to be almost like you're a Disney princess. Like it has to be the best time of your life, and giving birth is the most uh, like
Oh, yeah.
amazing thing you will ever do, and you'll feel so incredible, and when you hold your baby, you'll da 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 da. And then I come across TikToks like the girl with the list, who I'm sure you're familiar with.
Oh, yes. We're friends.
And all of the nitty-gritty details of what it's like to actually be pregnant, give birth, really come out. And
Hmm.
I want to get your honest feelings as someone who this is what you do. Like this is your
Yeah.
job. How you feel about the space that we're in now with social media and having access to all this information. Like, do you feel like it helps or hinders the work that you do?
Yeah, well, I think that what caused me to kind of start doing what I do is because I would have patients in real life who would get all of their perinatal education from the internet. And I
Mm,
don't mean like, oh, evidence-based websites or whatever. I'm talking like I saw a girl on TikTok who said blah, blah, blah. And they
yeah.
would make really important decisions for themselves and for their baby based off of just something that they saw.
Mm,
So I was like, if there's not going to be people out here saying the real deal, why not me?
yeah.
So I started posting videos and I had people at my work that were like, that's really unprofessional to be a nurse on the internet like that. Like that we shouldn't be there.
Hmm.
But my rebuttal to that is that's where pregnant people are.
Mm,
So I
mhm.
want to be able to have that kind of information out there and readily accessible. Because if you're looking for pregnant people, they're on the internet for
Yeah.
sure. So,
Yes.
and I think also there's this like Instagrammy filtered version of motherhood that I think is out there that kind of sets people up for failure,
Mm,
that, oh,
mhm.
it's supposed to be this gorgeous, beautiful thing. And motherhood sucks sometimes,
Yeah.
a lot of times, and also pregnancy and birth sucks sometimes. And I think that, when people seek out intentionally, the filtered version of what it looks like, it can set you up for things like postpartum depression and anxiety and grief around what it doesn't look like for you, or you feel like something's wrong with you if you're not experiencing it in the same way as you see, people on the internet. So,
Mm,
I think that there's a lot on the internet that can make you scared of what is
mhm.
going to happen, and then there's a lot that can make you feel like nothing bad can happen. So my saying is that I like to prepare, not to scare.
Mm.
So I think that having that good information on the front end can help you to be equipped with the tools and resources that you need in order to navigate that part of your life.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you said not to scare, but I'm scared. I'm gonna be honest with you because I
Yeah.
feel like, I'm now at a place, I'm 31. I just got off birth control literally this weekend. So like
How's it going?
new to the streets.
Yeah.
I've been on birth control for 18 years, Jen. I didn't even realize
Yeah.
how long I
Yeah.
had been on it, but at the time that was like, where medicine, if you had
Yeah.
cramps, if you had this, like birth control, if you had acne, birth control, it was like given out like, hotcakes back in my day. And,
Hmm.
I am in a place now where I'm thinking about family planning, but it's not something that I'm, looking to do tomorrow.
Right. Right.
But even, just in thinking about that, I feel like I've been telling all of my friends and my sisters like who have not gotten to that point in their lives yet, who are very much having their hot girl summer this summer and like living their best lives. But I'm like, you don't have to think about these things until you have to think about them, and then it becomes all you think about.
Yep.
And it can be very scary for me as someone who, I have friends who have had healthy pregnancies. I have friends who have miscarried. I have friends who have done IVF. I have friends who have frozen their eggs. I have friends, it kind of runs a gamut. And for me, I'm like, I love having access to all of these people and information because more information means you can make better educated decisions. But then at the same time, sometimes the information can feel like very anxiety inducing. Like, you hear
Yeah.
about all the bad
Overwhelming and
stories.
scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You hear about all the horror stories and you're like, holy shit. Like, I am convinced that I am going to be someone who did not know that that they were pregnant, like that show I didn't know I was pregnant, and give birth on toilet.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
convinced.
I hope that doesn't happen for you. But yeah, being on birth control for so long also, I mean, you don't know a life without it either. I
Yeah.
so fun fact, TMI, but
It's never
I
TMI here.
okay, good, perfect. So I went from virgin to pregnant. Okay. So like one of the I can't say it was the very first time because, I figured out what that action was and I was like, hey, this is pretty great. So
Yeah.
like the very first time that I did, like that week had some times in it.
Right. Yep.
And
Yep.
then next thing I know, my next period, she's missing. She's disappeared. Okay. So after, like I had never been on birth control before that. I have a baby and I am terrified of getting pregnant again.
Mm,
So I told my OBGYN, I was like, I need like Mirena, like the IUD. I need to not
yeah.
think about it. Just plop it in there and
Yeah.
be done. Well, that hurt. I don't know if this is TMI for you, but have you ever had an IUD?
It is not TMI for me. I just made a TikTok video about this literally 4 days ago because
Did you really?
a girl posted about her like before getting my IUD and after getting my IUD and she
I
looked
saw
so
that
fucking
video. Bless her
miserable.
heart.
I said,
Yes, yes,
I'm just confused. Why are we doing this? It's like women, it's like it's
yes,
heels. Like, why the fuck are we wearing heels and why the fuck are we getting IUDs? It
yes. And
sounds terrible.
I saw a video today of a man getting a vasectomy with an IV. He was gonna
Oh,
be put to sleep, and
oh,
I was like, oh. He and I are friends, so I'll give him a pass. But at the
yeah.
same time, there's a very large hint of jealousy.
Yes.
So I went to get this IUD, and I passed out. I was gone,
That's
and
what
when I
people
woke
think you
up,
pass out.
yes, it was awful. I woke up with two ammonia things shoved up my nose, and my legs above my head, and I asked my doctor, I was like, "Did you do it?" Like, that would have been a good time, like, just blow
Yeah.
him out, and he's like, "No, you kicked me in the face." 'Cause so, like, whenever I passed out, my legs went straight out, and, yeah. So and this is a long story, but he put me on birth control pills after that, and I was
Mm,
so afraid of getting pregnant that I literally taped my birth control pack to the back of my phone with
no.
Nursey tape. I swear to you, Cammy.
So that you wouldn't
And
forget.
I set an yes, and I set an alarm for every day at like 9:30 so that I would take it at the same time. Because no matter where I am, I always have my phone,
Right.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yep.
So my mom was like, "You look like a hoe." I said, "A not pregnant one. What counts."
Exactly. That's so funny because your phone could die, but the birth control is very much alive, very much
It,
fully charged.
exactly. Fully charged up, ready to go. And I'm now, so after my second baby, I had him give me an IUD, but he gave me like lots of medicine before. And so
Good.
now I'm coming up on 7 years of it, which means that I have to get it replaced. And I'm so
No.
scared.
I heard the removal
I
is
know.
terrible.
Terrible. Yes. So I'm very nervous. I just had my pap smear on Friday, and he's like, this is the year. And I was like, don't
No.
talk about it. Let's just
No.
I told him I was gonna keep it until it has barnacles on it.
Yeah, literally, honestly, I think that that's where I would be, and I think that's why I should not
Yeah.
get an IUD because I'd be like, oh, it's still in there.
Yeah, it's probably gonna work, right?
Gotta work. See, now I'm having
Yeah.
the opposite problem because now before I go to bed, I mean, taking that pill has been a part of my life every
Yeah, your
day.
routine.
Now I'm like, I go to my bed and I'm like, I'm forgetting something, and then I'm like, no, I'm not.
No?
It's it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's kind of spooky. It's kind of scary, but at the same time, it's where life is headed now. It's
Mhm.
just where we are. It's the weirdest thing, but that's why I say you
Yeah.
don't have to think about it until you have to think about, and then it's all you think about. But I'm just curious from you. I mean, I have so many questions, obviously, because you have all of the answers, but I want to talk about what are some key things, if you had like a top two or top three things that you absolutely would do as a first time mom going in to have your baby, and the top two and three things that you absolutely wouldn't do?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, I think that it's good to have realistic expectations of going in. And one of those things is expecting the unexpected, right? That, birth plans are fine and great. And you can have this goal of kind of what you would like, but also being flexible. Because I've seen a lot of people go in with very, very specific birth plans,
Mhm.
leave with very uh, like setting themselves up for a lot of grief
Mm.
and depression and anxiety. So kind of having like flexible thoughts about what is going to happen. What I tell people is that instead of making a birth plan of saying like I don't want this to happen, I do want this to happen, it's good to go into it with what I call birth vibes, which is just thinking about how do you want to be communicated with? How do you want to be empowered to make decisions? What do you want your environment to feel like? Who do you want on your team to make sure that you feel supported and empowered? Because you can, if you go in there with those kind of vibes, knowing what you do and don't want with that, you can have something that goes way left, but still leave that experience feeling empowered, respected, heard. And then, I've had people tell me, I had a birth that went completely to plan. It went exactly how I wanted to in my birth plan, but I left there with trauma because I didn't feel respected, or I didn't feel heard, or I didn't feel listened to. So I think that going into it, having those types of things in the back of your mind, supremo setting yourself up for a really, really positive experience. Some things that I definitely would do, I think if it's your first baby, a doula is always a good idea.
Mm.
Somebody who can go, if you can, if you were in a place in your life where you can afford someone to come into that space with you, knowing you, having been able to spend time with you and know what's important to you, it's so great to have an advocate. Something not to do, do not think that you have to bring the baby's father if he is not gonna be helpful to you, that prioritize their own comfort in that moment. So, I've had so many girls and women and people come in to have their baby, and they think that Dwayne is all of a sudden gonna be an empathetic, compassionate, supportive partner. And
Mm-mm.
if he ain't that way coming in, honey, he is not gonna be that way when you're in the throes of labor.
Yeah.
I've had people bring in, like, gaming systems. There was a guy one time who brought in, like, he went to Best Buy, and
No.
he brought in, like, a 55-inch monitor
No.
in the box,
No.
and then he opened it up, the thing was literally broken. I was like, "That is the universe telling you, you shouldn't have done that."
Good.
So,
Good.
yeah, so make sure you're choosing your people wisely, you know?
Yeah.
If you don't want your mother-in-law in there, have that boundary. I think boundaries are really important when you're coming in to have a baby, and then also after, staying true to your boundaries after you have the baby. You don't have to have everybody and their brother come in and hold the baby if that's not what you want. You can
Mhm.
have those boundaries and say, "Hey, we'll let you know when we're ready for company."
No, I think that that's I mean, I think that that's really important. I mean, Paris Hilton, I saw a video recently from, I think, a show or documentary she's doing. I'm not exactly sure, question mark. But she talked about the fact that she did not tell her mom that they had their second baby until the baby was
Mm.
already born and at home. And part of it was because she didn't want the press involved. And she was like, my mom, I think she thinks her mom has a loud mouth. I don't, most moms do. They're so excited. So I think she was just like,
Yeah.
I don't want
Yeah.
everybody involved. And like, I don't want everybody coming over right away. And I saw some mixed comments from people being like, she robbed her mom of that moment. And, but like, I just feel like, and you tell me if you see the same thing, but there's so much obviously excitement and value on like a new baby coming into the world that we kind of forget about mom a lot of times.
Mm.
Everything like the
Oh, yeah.
attention is always on baby. And even today I saw a creator on TikTok post, she was getting her best friend a baby shower gift. Did you see this one? But she was like, I didn't get anything
I don't
off
think
her
so.
registry. She was like, I know that all of our friends got her everything on her
Yeah.
registry. So instead, I made her a cart of everything that she will need as mom for her first time baby, things that you don't think about. Like she stocked it like to the brim.
I know exactly who you're talking about. Yep. I
It
saw
was
that
like
one.
a 3 year,
Beautiful. Yes.
so pretty. She put like adult diapers in
Yeah.
there. She put nipple cream. She even put
Yeah.
like little peanut butter crackers. Like she put everything that,
Hmm.
and hair ties. Like she got her a, not, she said it was not a Stanley, but Stanley adjacent
Yeah.
water
Yeah.
bottle and like electrolyte packets and all this stuff. And it like made me almost emotional because I was like, wow, like we really do forget about mom a lot. And I mean, I don't want to say rightfully so because like, yeah, we like the baby, like all eyes are on the baby and like protecting the baby and mom during childbirth, but then afterwards, all the excitement is about the baby. But like, what about the moms?
Exactly. And I think that that can also ring true for like the birth experience because
Mhm.
there are nurses who very well intentioned will say, you know, our only goal is healthy mom, healthy baby, which yes, that should be definitely something that we that we strive for, but there is something to be said about, you know, of course we want the healthy mom, healthy baby, but we can also do that while making sure that mom feels heard, respected, empowered. Because I think that saying like healthy mom, healthy baby kind of puts the bar on the floor, you know, like
Mhm.
I don't want to die. Like that's a
Yeah.
pretty low, that's a pretty low bar.
Yeah.
So I think that, you know, in challenging what we're doing for, you know, maternal mortality in our country. I think that there is a lot to be done when we focus on the mom
Mm.
and the experience that she has and how she feels about it. Because, you know, I have had patients who haven't felt heard or respected in a birth experience and then go to basic raw dog and childbirth at the house by themselves because they don't feel like that they're going to be heard or respected whenever they come in. So I think that it's so important that we focus on the mom. So important. But whether it's prenatally, during the delivery, and also in that postpartum period, because that's the time where she's going to feel overwhelmed and a lot of times alone, because there's a lot of people who come over and say, "Oh, I'll hold the baby so you can, you know, take a nap or whatever." But there's so many things that are also on her plate. I tell people that if you're going to help somebody postpartum, you don't say like, "Oh, call me if you need something," because you're adding something to her list of to-do things that she's never going to do. So you say, "Hey, I'm going to bring you a KFC on Tuesday night." So, you know, just so you know, or like what's a good night to do that instead of waiting for that new mom to put something in front of you for you to do for them. I just think that we have to focus on the mental health and stability of those new moms and making sure that they feel okay.
Yeah. Oh my God. You just made me think about, so I have witnessed childbirth firsthand, and it was the
Mm,
most beautiful, insane experience I've ever seen.
isn't it amazing? Yeah.
I I recommend it to everyone. It was so I couldn't, it was like extraterrestrial almost.
Yeah.
So it was otherworldly. My cousin, I was there for the birth of her first son, who is technically my cousin, but I call him my nephew cousin because she's like my sister and
Of
he's like
course. Yeah.
my child.
Your baby. Uh-huh.
And I I just remember. being there and seeing everything and like going, I saw everything. I saw everything and I loved it. I was like, wow. I kept telling her, like, you're so cool. Like, you're a rock star. Like, you're the coolest person
Yeah.
I know. And she, of course, is like sweating and looking at me like, what? Thank you. But
Yeah.
it was just so, I can't even describe the experience. It was so just beautiful. And, I remember us being in the delivery room and some things had gone not wrong, but not ideal. And
Yeah.
she had me there, and I've got a loud mouth, and I'm always going to speak on behalf of my cousin. But she
Of
also had
course.
my aunt there, who's a registered nurse and has been in labor and delivery, and this is she's very well aware of what is supposed to go down. And like we had a situation where they gave her the Pitocin late, and her epidural didn't kick in until she was already
Mm.
9 centimeters dilated. It,
Bless her heart.
it was
Yikes.
crazy. And then I remember afterwards, like, they just start doing things. I think
Hmm.
at some hospitals. I can't speak for all of them, but they were like stitching, and she didn't even know that they were going into stitch. So I just heard her go like, ow. And I was like, what are you doing?
Yeah. Stop it.
What's
Yeah.
happening? You're hurting her.
Yeah.
Like, get your fucking hands off her. I didn't say that, but that's what I felt. But for people who don't have advocates in the room, how do you suggest that we advocate for ourselves when we're in those situations? I mean, even if you do have advocates in the room who know your plan, your own mom could have her own plan for what she thinks your birth should be like, or your significant other could have their own plan for what they want, things to
Yeah.
be like.
Yeah.
um I feel like I've seen so many times when it's usually men that they'll be like,
Of
no
course.
c-section, no c-section,
Hmm.
no,
Yeah.
I want everything back the way that it was. Like, those are obviously douchebags, but like
Yes.
in situations like that, what are your tips for advocating for yourself in in the birthing process?
I love this question because I'm so passionate about it. I think that the first thing is knowing and understanding and taking ownership of this is your body and your baby. So there should never be anyone who makes you feel inferior about asking questions and truly understanding what is being recommended. I think so whenever I meet a patient, um, I always give them 6 promises, because I want them to know right off the bat what their rights are and what they should and can expect of me and how I care for them. So some of them would be like, I'm here to be your advocate. I'm here to listen to you and believe you. I promise never to keep secrets from you because there's a lot of nurses who for I'm sure that it comes from a good place in their heart that they don't want to scare somebody, but in the
Mhm,
back of their mind, they can see on the horizon something that might not be a fun experience. So,
mhm,
for instance, if I have a patient who they're expecting a really big baby. Maybe they've had like gestational diabetes that wasn't well controlled. There's some things that are kind of cueing my brain to think that the baby could get stuck in what's called a shoulder dystocia. There's a
mhm,
lot of nurses who would kind of keep that in the back of their mind but never voice it.
mhm,
But if it comes to that point, they're not prepared for that at all. So
mhm,
I think, and one of my promises, I promise to never keep secrets from you. If I can see something on the horizon as a possibility, I'm going to talk to you about it early and often. So I think that that's something that you can ask of your care team is to say, hey, please don't keep secrets from me. And if there's something that you can see on the horizon as a possibility, please talk to me about it early and often, because that's another way that we can prepare and not scare. But I think that in making decisions for yourself, you should always be offered, yes, what the recommendation is. Why is that the recommendation? What would happen if we didn't do that? And what would happen if we did do that? And that includes the risks of the things that, could come along with whatever decision is made.
mhm.
Because a lot of times on labor and delivery, and you probably saw this with your cousin, that, they just come in and say, okay, we're going to do this now.
Yeah,
And I think that that's
it was a teaching
unacceptable.
it was a teaching
Yeah.
hospital. We were in Canada,
Yeah.
by the way. It was a teaching hospital. I remember the we had an amazing, amazing nurse that was there first, and then she had to like clock out. And I
Oh
was
no.
like, oh, fuck. And then
Yeah.
a new one came in and she was kind of all over the place. And then when it was time, when we figured out how many centimeters dilated my cousin was, she was like, okay, I have to prepare the room. I have to prepare the room. And it was almost like she was in shock. Like she was just standing
Yeah.
there with her hands out saying she has to prepare the room. I'm like, so prepare it. Why is
Yeah.
why is no one ready? I feel
Seriously.
like Meryl
Yeah.
Streep. I was like, what is going on? Like, prepare the room. And then, the doctor came in. I don't think it was the doctor that my cousin was already seeing. I think it was somebody else.
On
I don't remember
call.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like an on-call person because there was like a blizzard. There was so much shit going down at Canada Low. And so
Lord.
then all of these people start coming in the room because it's a teaching hospital. And I don't think my cousin was prepared for that. I wasn't prepared for that because I'm like, who the fuck are these people? Like now
Yeah.
we got like
Right.
seven people standing and watching my cousin give birth. And like I said, it was the most amazing experience. She probably wasn't even paying attention to them because, like I said, she basically gave natural birth with no
Yeah.
epidural. But I can imagine though, for someone who is having complications or um, has a certain plan or thinks that things are going to go a certain way and is vigilant of what's going on, it can be a little scary for the mom to have all these people
Absolutely.
coming in. So,
Yeah. And I think that even just the mere mention of something being a possibility helps you to already process it if it does happen. And if
mm,
it doesn't happen, then it's just an extra conversation that we had.
yeah.
But I like to prepare people not only for what could happen, but what it would feel like, what it would look like, what it would sound like, what it would smell like,
Mm-hmm.
because preparing for all of those senses can help you to kind of get into that frame of mind if it does happen. So, for instance, if I have a patient who's coming in for a C-section, they've never had a C-section before. Okay, when we go back there, it's going to feel really bright in there, and it might be chillier than you are anticipating. But here's how I'm going to protect you and make sure that you feel comforted. I'm going to have warm blankets for you. And talking about your cousin, how all those people came in, that would have been a conversation that I would have loved to have beforehand with her saying, hey, when the baby is born, for where I work, we have at least a couple extra people that come in, like
Hmm.
somebody that's on baby duty for when the baby comes out, maybe like a surgical tech to help with, stuff. But if ever there's an opportunity for students, that is a conversation that needs to happen
Yeah.
beforehand. Like,
Yeah.
hey, we're a teaching hospital. We have these people here today that are here to get experience in observing. What are your thoughts on this, and how can I advocate for you in that decision?
Mm.
Instead of being like, surprise,
Oh, that's
here's
what it
12
was.
more people.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I
And
hate
also,
that for
one of the
her.
students, I think, was the one doing the stitches, and that's why my cousin said out.
Oh
So I
no.
was really like,
Yeah,
get
yes.
your
I'm
hand.
glad that
I'm
she
sure
had you
that
there though.
Listen, I'm sure that they are well qualified and, working
Yeah.
on their stuff, but you're gonna need to practice on somebody else.
Right. And I mean, it should be a conversation, like saying,
Right.
hey, I've got so and so working with me today. I'm going to be right over their shoulder. Are you okay if blah, blah, blah? But yeah, I don't think it's right whenever we don't give people a choice in that. And
Yeah.
I was a student. I mean, I understand that people need to learn and stuff, but I do believe that you should have every right to say whether that's something you want or not.
Right.
Um, you know, and like there are certain things that I would be a-okay with a student doing, and there's certain things that I would not be. So I think that people should have a choice and they should be offered that choice.
Yes. Agreed. Ugh, choices. Wow. My body, my
Yes.
choice.
Can you believe it?
Can you believe it? Would you even guess? Okay, I want to do some rapid fire with you
Let's do it.
with some
Yeah.
TikTok childbirth trends that I have come
Okay.
across that I have questions.
Okay. Yes.
The first one I know you've talked about, but we're starting off strong.
Okay.
Lotus birth.
Yes. Oh boy, the lotus birth. So, lotus birth is when you do not separate your baby from the placenta,
Hmm.
period, with a T at the end.
Yeah.
You let it fall off. I'm going to put this in quotes naturally, which means that you allow it to stay hooked up until the cord falls off on its own. The problem with that is that once the placenta is disconnected from the uterus, it begins the process of death, of dying. So it is an organ that dies. So there are people that have done it culturally, and there are people that have done it because they saw it on TikTok.
Yeah.
But whenever you do a lotus birth, you have to do things to the placenta to keep it from smelling, because it is decaying. So you would put like herbs and salt on there to help it dry out and help your cat from not eating it.
Ew.
Um, yeah, but here's the evidence-based part of that is that there are no medical benefits that have ever been found from keeping your placenta attached after, and believe me, I'm all for like delayed cord clamping because 30% of that baby's blood volume lives in that placenta. So
Hmm.
by all means, let that baby get all that good stuff. But once the cord turns limp and white, the only thing that could be going through there once that placenta begins to die is bacteria.
Mm.
So you kind of have this portal to your baby from this decaying organ. So there have been babies that have died from this, and this is a big thumbs down
Yeah.
from Jen Hamilton.
So that's all you need to hear, folks. I was going to ask you about delayed cord clamping because I have heard of that. And I was like, that
Yeah,
sounds like something that I would want to do. I also want to know your opinion on placenta pills. So, like making pills, or some people make
yeah,
smoothies or something out of their placenta, because I have
yeah,
the idea that I am going to get one of those little freezers and get placenta pills made out of my placenta.
yeah, absolutely. And so there are so many anecdotal benefits of it. The science isn't very clear on it that to say like, oh, one way or the other. I have some tips if people want to do that.
Mm.
If they are going to consume the placenta in any way, we've even had people, I wouldn't recommend this, but I've had people blend it up in a smoothie at the bedside,
Oh,
raw.
ah!
Not my not my most favorite,
Now
but
it's giving Jeffrey Dahmer.
you do
Absolutely not.
you.
Absolutely not.
Right? But I tell people if you are planning on consuming your placenta in any way, whether it's to dehydrate and encapsulate it or something else, treat it like chicken. Okay. So
Mm.
you're not going to leave it out on the counter overnight. You're going to
Hmm.
make sure it stays cold and refrigerated. If you're wanting to take it home to do that kind of stuff, bring a cooler with you. The unit can pretty much help you with ice and stuff to put in it. But the placenta is yours, right? So if you don't take the placenta home, what we do with it is incinerate it, or there are some placentas that have something weird going on that we have to send to pathology.
Right.
So, but the placenta is yours. We don't have some big placenta conspiracy where we're keeping it and selling it to, Satan worshipers and stuff. Like that's not what we're doing.
I have heard the big
So,
Placenta conspiracies.
yeah, yeah, I have not seen that happen.
Yes.
So, um, but treat it like chicken. Find someone really reputable who's done this a lot to encapsulate it for you if you are going to do that, because you really need somebody who's not going to like get it mixed up with somebody else's,
Mm.
or they're going to treat it in the right way to make sure that that bacteria is taken care of, that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I'm all for informed and empowered decisions. It's just important to know that like there's no scientific study that you're going to find that says these are the things that it can do for you. But I've met so many people who say, I did this and I felt so much better after delivery. So
Yeah.
there's very little risk to it, if you're doing it in like a decent way where you've got somebody who is doing it the right way. So if it's going to make you feel better, you do you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Treat it like chicken, folks. That's good
That's
advice.
right.
Your sweat glands can turn your sweat blue.
I've seen that. I've not in real life, but I saw that on TikTok. I have nothing on that. I had never heard of that before that TikTok.
I didn't know you could become a Smurf from sweating
I
while pregnant.
know.
But apparently you
I
can.
know.
There was a girl on TikTok, for those of you who don't know, who she said that her sweat glands turned blue and she, would go to use the toilet or like put on a white t-shirt and where the armpits would be of the t-shirt would turn blue. She would sit on the toilet and her white toilet turned blue from her sweat.
So crazy. And the other thing that your armpits can do is make milk.
I saw
Did you
that.
know
I
that?
saw somebody
Yeah.
milking their armpit.
Yes. So crazy that you can have like mammary glands in your armpits.
And can you feed your baby that milk, that armpit milk?
I mean, I guess. I don't know. I didn't have a nipple on it, so I don't know how it comes how much latch there would be there, but
Ew. I mean,
I
I
don't
guess
know that I would
listen,
want to.
if you're in a sticky situation, you're not producing
Cam,
anywhere but your armpit.
yeah.
What are you
Cammy,
gonna
do you want to know a crazy story?
Yes, I
Okay.
do.
So, this is I don't think I've told this on a podcast before. But so I breastfed both my kids, right? And I had to go on a business trip for my work when my kid was 8 months old. This was the first time that I had been away from him. No worries. I brought my pump with me. Okay. So I bring my pump, and this is like day two. I'm starting to feel not so great. I have like one like line of boob that is hard, and I
Mm.
know that I have a clogged duct.
Oh, I
Okay.
heard those are bad.
Yeah, it was not fun. So I pump in the morning. It's still not doing what it needs to do. I try to go do this conference that I'm at, and then like by lunchtime, I'm like, something's got to give. So
Mm.
I go back to the hotel and I pump for like hours. I cannot get this clogged duct out. So I get in the shower thinking like the heat and the
Hmm.
vibration of the water would help it. Okay. So I'm in the shower, and no judgment, Kimmy. Okay.
No
This happened
judgment.
in real life.
No
Okay. So
judgment.
I was in the shower, and I was like, if I only had my baby here, like this would be gone, because like babies can do what they need to do way better than a pup does.
Right.
And I looked at my titties, and I looked at how long my titties were after breastfeeding, and I said, I bet I could. And I did it. And let me tell you, as,
Honestly, there are so
as
many women that feel seen right now because so many women are listening
yes,
like, yep, I sucked my titty too one time.
yeah, that's right. Desperate times call for desperate measures. The titties had the length, and that's what had happened. So
And it worked?
immediately worked. I obviously like spit it out because that's disgusting, at least for me. It may not be for other people, but that was it was gross. And then as soon as it let go, okay, I'm standing at one end of the shower. It hit all the way at the long end of the shower on the wall, sprayed that hard against the wall. But I felt so good after that. I felt like Miss America. I was so happy that it was gone.
Women are magical.
I know it's
We just
wonderful.
are.
I do have to say, the titties do not have the length anymore. I did get them lifted and
Uh,
put back to where they should
you
sit.
deserve, after all that, you
I
deserve,
know. I
you
know.
deserve.
I felt very good in my decision to do that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh my
And
God. I
whenever I
can't wait to
went for
tell
my
you a crazy
consultation,
story when I have
yeah.
one.
Yeah, I want to know. Whenever I went for my consultation for my breast lift, the surgeon, like, you're wearing like a little gown and stuff, and so he gets out his tape measure, right? That he's going to measure from my clavicle to my nipple. And so he's like, "Okay, open your gown." And I opened the gown. He put the tape measure back in the drawer.
No.
He was like, "Yeah, you qualify." I was like,
Sir, first of
you
all,
can't even measure just to humor me,
for
just to
good
make
luck,
it look, yeah, just to make it look like, I'm not sure. He put it in the drawer. He
he was like,
said,
I don't need this.
I don't need this.
I can measure with my eyes. It's
That's right.
gonna work.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's so funny. Wow. Okay, speaking of breast milk, I heard your breast milk can change colors.
It sure can. It sure can. Whenever my baby was sick one time, my breast milk turned like this dark yellow green color. And I was
Ooh.
like, is this okay? But yeah, so your baby's saliva communicates with your body. Like it's kind of like a give and take kind of thing. And so as your baby's breastfeeding, it is telling your body to make antibodies to whatever they have been exposed to. And so your breast milk responds by giving your baby the antibodies that it's so wild.
No,
It
it's
is
the
so wild.
wildest. I learned that in the baby
Yeah.
documentary on Netflix.
Yeah, so crazy. And like even the time of day, like your nighttime breast milk is like a heavier kind of breast milk that can help your baby sleep longer. It is crazy. The
Wow.
body is amazing.
Wow. Wow. Well, you know what? On the days when I'm like, fuck, man, why wasn't I born without this vagina that I have that's giving me so many problems? I got to take this pill.
Right?
I got to get my period. I got PMS. I got
Yeah,
bloating, cramps, da da da, you name it. I'm like, wow, being a woman is actually extraordinary. Like, it's just
it's
the
amazing. Yeah.
most insanely beautiful journey that you can possibly be on. Wow. Ah, I feel amazing. I feel very excited for the future. My last question to you is my own birth vibe that I have been thinking about that doesn't make any sense, which is I am going to have an epidural, 1000%. But I also would like to give birth on all fours. And I'm thinking, is there a contraption that can hold me up so that I can give birth on all fours while also not being in pain?
Hell yes. Yes,
Really?
absolutely. Yes. And it bothers me whenever I hear people have experiences where they say, "Oh, my nurse told me I couldn't." That is a lie. That is a big lie because your body can be on all fours and deliver like that with an epidural. 100%.
What? You know,
So,
people I've told to,
yes.
and they're like, there's no way because your body is like basically dead. Like your body's like,
Yeah, Jello. Yep.
yeah,
I wish that I could show you a picture, but the way that the hospital, and you may have seen it with your cousin, that like the hospital bed, like the top of it can go up, the bottom of it can go down. You can do
right.
like stirrups and all that stuff. So what I like to do is I put this like this is the head of the bed. I put the head of the bed up, the bottom of the bed, lower that down, and then I have them sit on their knees on the lower part of the bed like this and kind of like
Mm,
lean over that top
yeah.
part. And then on the bottom of the bed where the stirrups are, I kind of lift the stirrups up so that you feel, and I'll put pillows on either side so that you feel supported, like you're not going to do the splits and fall off.
Do you have an app
Yeah.
I can order you when I'm ready?
You
On
text me, I'll be
call,
there. I'll be there.
on call Jen Hamilton nurse app. Like, can you please? I'm about
Yeah.
to, because that's what I want to do. And if somebody tells me that is not possible, I'm going to be like, Jen
Yes,
Hamilton told me that I can do it. Here's how
that's
you do
right.
it.
Exactly.
Lift this head of the bed and let's get it going.
Hmm.
Wow.
The important thing is that you just don't get like you're just cognizant of where the epidural tubing is, so you're not like
Mhm.
as you're turning like ripping it out or anything like that. But as long as you're cognizant of that and you feel like you want to do that, there's no reason why you cannot. Another thing that they may tell you is like, "Oh, we have to be able to monitor the baby." Sure thing. But it causes them to have to do a little bit of extra work and like finding where the baby is while you're doing that,
Mhm.
but it absolutely is possible.
See, I thought I
Absolutely.
was gonna have to float in one of those contraptions that they put biting dogs in when they go to get groomed.
Hey, I
I
think
was scared of it.
that might feel good. I don't know. I might like that.
Thought that was where I was headed, but wow. Now I have new information. I love this. Jen, thank you so much.
Yes,
Can you please tell everyone where they can find
of
you?
course. Yes, absolutely. So, on TikTok and Instagram, I have the same handle, which is just Jen Hamilton, but before my first name, in between and after, it's an underscore. But if you just type in Jen Hamilton, I have a blue check mark. That is me, and you can find me that way.
Thank you so much. I'm like, I can't wait to tell my boyfriend that I knew that it was possible, but that's why you have to advocate for what you want. That's
That's
why you
right.
say it
That's
out loud.
exactly right. Yep.
Wow. Thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Bye.
Bye.